XRP, XRP is holding up extremely well. So one important thing to notice on XRP is this. So if we take a look at, let's go to the daily time frame actually, and let's make everything invisible. So look, swept the low, and slightly swept the low, right? So let's take a look at that chart. Then this one, same thing, swept the low, swept the low. This one barely swept it. This is why I like looking at a lot of different XRP charts because the data is slightly different on all of them. On this third one, look at that. It clearly swept a low. So swept a low, swept a low, and swept a low. And then basically came down to this demand zone and now continuing higher. Remember, I did say that, worst case could be like we come and touch somewhere over here, right? Now let's look at the next one. Look at that. So on this specific chart, which is the Poloniex chart, which is probably one of the XRP charts with the most data, this one actually came all the way down to 242. That doesn't mean that, it just wicked basically. Maybe they had some orders on there or something, but this one actually did that wick. Now I've seen this in the past where the market does the wick on a specific chart, but the rest of the market doesn't do it. The rest of the charts don't do it. So that is usually a sign that, that one is excessive. That one is very excessive. That's usually a sign that you know, it's possible that it's not gonna come to that point. So, when you take a look at this Poloniex chart, I did mention that the worst case could be that we come and tap, somewhere over here, which was also below this low. Maybe this was it. Maybe this was it, maybe it was it, or the market, if it does do it, then it does it, but I don't see it doing it. Now, this does also have a little gap right here on this specific Poloniex chart. Let's look at the 4 hour. So I would not be surprised that we're still right close, very close to it. So I wouldn't be surprised if XRP did close that gap as well. So we'll see how this ends up playing out, because I don't care too much about gaps. I don't be crazy on gaps unless if we're still close to them, then the market likely is gonna touch them. But this is not even like this is literally at 283. So it's literally a few percent move over here. So, maybe it drops a little 3% and then, pushes back to the upside. That's nothing crazy. The Bitcoin one is a little bit further away. But regardless, when we're taking a look at the ones without that wick, um, let's see. So came all the way down to this little demand zone down here. This ended up bottoming out on Friday and then ended up creating some higher lows, as you could see. So made this low on Friday, higher low on Saturday. Sunday, it respected it and it continued. And now we are on Monday morning at 8 a.m., which is New York session. They ended up pushing it to the upside a bit more. If we turn on this indicator right here, looking at sessions, New York session made another high. So we'll see if this continues, I mean, I believe the bottom is in personally, but if this continues and even breaks above this high right here, then yeah, that's like official that that high is in. So we'll see how this week ends up closing because it's the right now the price is like stuck between these zones over here. So I know that the macro is bullish, that has not changed. But look, the market can easily, reject that area, maybe touch this again, then come up here. There's a lot of different things that could happen from over here. So we'll see if this can push with some momentum. And I also did mention that the quarterly time frame, it just did not make sense for this candle to turn bearish. It did not make sense. And as you can see, the quarterly candle is bullish on XRP. So that is a very positive sign. The yearly candle is bullish. The 6 month candle is bullish. The monthly candle is bullish. Not only that, the monthly candle swept the previous monthly candle low. And that's the low that it made earlier this month. So it made it actually last week. So we made that low and then it turned right around. And the monthly candle turned bullish above 277. So the monthly candle just turned bullish in the last couple of days. So it turned bullish around right here. So, it's there's not the monthly candle is not just, turning bullish at the end of the month for no reason. That's just showing that the bulls are in control. So, these are all positive signs, and we could see, we'll see what type of price action we get in quarter four. But, my stance has not changed. I do believe that this is headed towards a minimum of $4 to $6 on the next push higher. This has all just been turbulence, typical turbulence. As you can see, just look at this. Just look at this chart. It's like literally just push, consolidation, and it's getting ready to push. Everything is just lining up, pointing to the upside. Everything. So we'll see where we land. This is just being conservative. If I'm being honest with you guys, I'm just being conservative because, nobody knows. At the end of the day, you just do not know what's going to happen once you head over all-time high. So I'm just sticking to these little conservative areas over here. Now, if we literally do a nice push straight over, $4, $5, let's say in a matter of 2 weeks, and then one week we retrace a bit and end up closing the week off slightly higher. That could happen. That can easily happen with some type of catalyst or something. And remember, we still have 3 months left in 2025. So these are the moments where things start to get very interesting. Things start to get very aggressive. When we're taking a look at this chart from the monthly time frame, it is still on a nice, healthy, strong trend. Trust me, this is still on a strong trend. If you take a look over here, for example, not to really compare it to this too much, it is a little bit similar, but as you can see, look at these, moving averages. Like they haven't even crossed or nothing. It was just chilling on top of it, trending to the upside. So very similar price action over here where we're still trending to the upside. And we even got a double high over here. So I believe, we got a double high and then we got this little retracement and then let's see if we can get that next push to these higher levels. So we'll see where we can end up making a stop on one monthly candle. Maybe it's October, maybe it's November, maybe it's December, maybe it's all three, maybe it's only two of them. I don't know. Nobody knows, what exactly is going to happen. So we'll see as things continue to mature in the next few months. But there's just nothing bearish about XRP just yet. We just have to wait for this next move over price discovery, and we'll get to see, where price is headed and where it's gonna take a stop. Because, maybe it goes higher too. We just don't know. Maybe, something's going on that we don't know about. And these things just, the price just goes way higher. So it's not chilling here for no reason. If the market was bearish, it wouldn't have stayed here. If we were bearish, we would have probably been down here by now. Yeah, if we were bearish, we would have easily been below $2 and probably, ended up creating some lower lows and lower highs. And, we would probably have swept as low and made a lower high right here. And this would have been the best time to get out. But we're not doing that. We're creating higher lows. Even on the daily time frame, we're creating higher lows. This is a low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and we're gonna create a higher high. So very simple technical analysis, guys. We don't want to complicate this game. All right, SHX. So SHX came all the way down here. I did mention, I told you guys in the chat how, the bottom was in. So once I saw this type of reaction, I did say, once we see the higher low, that can confirm it. We got the higher low, and then we got a continuation. So, I do believe that the bottom is in. I just want to see, as you can see, I want to see this push through this, like, I'm talking like this week. I want to see this push through it this week. I want to see us, just turn from here and, head right back above 2 cents. I want to see us head back above 2 cents pretty soon. Because the longer we stay down here, this does look good, but the longer we stay down here, it's just, the market is the way I look at the algorithm is the longer it stays within a range, more than likely it's gonna want to sweep it again. I don't think this is gonna happen, but it's just a minor possibility. But I do think that this is slowly gearing back up to, head back to the upside. We got a pretty strong liquidity grab with the rest of the market. It ended up retesting this overall zone right here. And if you take a look at the overall trend on SHX, it's a nice, healthy trend still till this day. So literally push higher, so low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, higher high, higher low, and then we should get a higher high on the next push higher. So this can likely come in quarter four, and that's when we can finally break that all-time high around 5 cents. Remember, expect the price to cool down at that range. Expect price to probably hit 5 to 7 cents and probably cool down for a few weeks before it then continues to the higher targets. That's what I'm anticipating personally. When I see price break an all-time high, it will usually cool down. That's just, how it is. So for now, in the short term, 5 cents is still like that target where I expect SHX to head towards, and then we'll see what we can do from there. But yeah, this is not looking too bad. It does look like it has bottomed out, but just be aware if they do end up playing that what I just basically said, if they do end up playing a bit of games over here, don't be surprised, but it's not to me, it's nothing serious. It would just be like a little final liquidity grab if they do end up wanting to sweep that low, but we are looking good over here. So, pay attention to how price reacts once it's getting to ready to turn back around. So as you can see over here, look, one, two, and then it created a higher lows, boom, higher lows. And now over here, same thing, one, two. So maybe we come up here, maybe we retrace a bit again, then we come back up over here, we retrace a bit again, and then a quick push towards that 5 cent range to then chill out. So that's what it's looking like from these ranges. I do still like how this is looking. It's still looking healthy. Nothing has changed with SHX. This has been the best performing asset in the market this cycle. I don't care what anybody says. I haven't seen one that does better. If there is one, that's doing better than SHX, then I probably just haven't seen it. But since 2023, this thing has been destroying everything, So it's literally up since August 2023 at this current moment, 4,800%. And it's hit a high of literally 98, basically 100x. This thing has basically done 100x this cycle from the overall bottom. And I'm just using this specific bottom over here. It's done 100x. And I do still think it has a bit of steam to go to the upside. So, this is not the end of it just yet. Nothing, no structure has been broken over here. Nothing has really changed just yet. So we'll get to see what type of reaction we can get to close this week off. Real quick, let's take a look at the quarterly time frame. So quarterly time frame, bullish. Yearly time frame, bullish. 6 month time frame, bullish. You see, it's like why go against any of that? Monthly time frame, slightly bearish, but we know that the overall macro is bullish, so we should be expecting some type of reaction. We might just get a nice candle straight back to 2 cents, and we have 7 days in this whole week, so that can literally happen this week. We'll see. I believe that's what's gonna happen. We'll see. And as you can see, look, it's just not, out of the world to think that in one day you could just get one big candle like that. So that's what I'm anticipating, and we'll see what we could get. All right. On to the next. So Velo. All right, so Velo, this has last week. Let's see where we were at last week. So last week we were roughly last week was the 22nd. So we were roughly like right here. So yeah, this has basically swept that low again. Okay. Yeah, came back down, swept that low, came back into this overall zone that it did get a reaction out of. We came and swept that low again, and it's getting a reaction out of it again. So the fact that it's holding up, so like I just want you guys to understand this. The fact that it's still holding up and respecting these zones is a positive sign. The fact that it's not just melting from here is a great sign. which is why I believe that Velo is just in an accumulation range. I mean, at the end of the day, look, this low from April is still holding strong. This low from June is still holding strong. So you can't ignore that. You know, when lows are holding up, like since April, price currently is up 54% and it's hit a high of 139. So like that's not a bad signal. You know what I mean? So when you look at it from that perspective, you know, it's not a bad sign. Currently from June, it's up 34%. And from it's hit a high of 108 roughly. So as long as these lows are holding up, this is still on an overall trend. Low, high, higher low, higher high. We're creating the higher low right now. Now we just need to see if we can get that higher high. So I do believe that this is gearing up. It's accumulating for a big push to these levels up here. I do still believe in Velo. The fact that it's just been gearing up slowly and still holding up is a very positive sign. I do think that this is going to be one of those wild cards that just sneaks up and the market starts going crazy out of nowhere, and it can be in quarter four. So I have not lost faith in it. The technicals are still holding up and respecting certain areas. We just want to see something soon at this point. We do not want to see the market keep respecting, coming down to these areas. We want to see price push through 2 cents and start gaining some strong momentum pretty soon. And that's what I believe is coming as the quarter progresses. So not too bad, nothing bad just yet. Let's see how we can react to close off this overall quarter. So quarterly time frame is a little bit bearish, but it's not even like mega bearish. So, you know, this is looking like it's just literally gearing up to have a strong continuation in the next quarter or so. So, and it still can turn, but it still can close off bullish in the next 1 day and 6 hours, which is right above 0.013634. So uh, to close off bullish, it literally just needs to go up a few percent. So Velo still just holding up. We just gotta wait for this thing to get, woken up. I do believe that, I know Binance has been stacking this for a long time. So maybe they're just waiting to turn it back up. And then we could get a nice push to these higher levels. But the fact that it's respecting these lows over here is a positive sign. We're just not really getting any movement to the upside, where if anything just accumulating sideways and just accumulating and gaining possible strength for the overall push to the upside.